Today's episode is brought to you by Forvis Mazars.
Sound Cartel.
From Sound Cartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. With the shrinking small business sector, it appears we're sleepwalking into a big corporate economy. These are the words of the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, Bruce Bilson, who is telling governments that something needs to be done soon to stop the decline. Bruce has come up with a 14-point plan to reverse the situation, which has seen the small business economic contribution drop from 41% to just a third over the past 15 years. And as he tells Jeff Waters, the high street will look very different unless some action is taken.
Small and family businesses, we rightly have just celebrated on International Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Day the enormous contribution that small and family businesses make to our economy. We've gone, yay, those 2 in 5 private sector jobs, that's fantastic. That 1/3 of GDP that small businesses generate in the Australian economy, that deserves celebration. But what I've also pointed to, Jeff, is that 2 in 5 private sector jobs used to be 1 in 2 only a decade and a half ago. That 1/3 of GDP used to be 41% a decade and a half ago. So what we're seeing is a contraction of the small and family business contribution to the economy. And I argue we're sleepwalking into a big corporate economy where the big enterprises with deep resources have really, thrived in the uncertainty, the turmoil in the post-COVID era. I think we are sleepwalking into a big corporate economy where bigger enterprises are really thriving. The trajectory of profit for the big corporates is far stronger than small business. In fact, in the last full year where tax information is available, Jeff, 46% of small businesses didn't make a profit. Now, even for self-employed people for whom their self-employment is their full-time livelihood, the research shows that 75% of those self-employed people are taking home less than average total weekly wages. So there's something going on there, and I believe it's the times, the regulatory environment, the economic circumstances are more conducive to larger corporates and are presenting more headwinds for small and family businesses, and we need to do something about that. Now, some people might say, hey, what's wrong with a big corporate economy? Well, it's neat, it's tidy, you don't have to talk to so many people, but we lose so much. We lose so much in those communities and regions that don't have a big employer or a mine or a big corporate in town. It's small and family businesses that are the economy. They're the ones that are doing a disproportionate share of the training of our apprentices and trainees. They're the ones where innovation and new ways, more productive ways of working are so often generated, and then that feeds into the big corporates who want a piece of the action that a small business may have navigated. So I'm saying we need to focus, as we have been, on reducing the headwinds, because there are many, but we need to also put energy into putting wind in the sails of small business so they have every prospects of succeeding. And so I've outlined, 14 steps that can be taken now by governments, by regulators, by people of goodwill who want to do all we can to energise enterprise for small and family businesses.
I'll be the devil's advocate here, but is this not just the market speaking?
Oh, it is.
You're talking about more regulation.
Yeah, but if you want to make things tough for small business, burden them with very complex regulation. If you want to, make the idea of being your own boss less attractive, then get the risk and reward balance out of whack, like I argue we have got right now. The average age of a small and family business owner, Jeff, is 50. There's 8% of the small business owners of Australia are under the age of 30. It was 17% in the 70s. We need to do something about this. And when you compare our economy with our neighbours, you see a much younger in age, but also in length of time that businesses have been around. As the entrepreneurship picture, you see a greater propensity to innovate, to use technology to drive value and to drive income generation. And so we need to really make sure that we're focusing on the next generation of small and family business owners by ensuring that the climate within which they are considering entering is as supportive as it can be of their success. And I think there's a need to take action. And rather than just talk about it, I've outlined 14 steps that are that action that would certainly improve Australia as a place to start, grow and transform a small business.
What sort of things are in your list?
Well, I touched earlier on the risk-reward balance. I'm sure many of your listeners, in fact, some of your content speaks to, missteps in industrial relation being characterised as wage theft. There's big consequences for getting things wrong, but getting them right can be very challenging. Let's just stick with workplace relations. The very government department that writes those rules has been found not to comply with the award system and was underpaying. So if the people that are shaping the rules with all of that technical expertise, lawyers and industrial, well, how hard is it going to be for a business that employs 5 people, that doesn't have an in-house workplace relations specialist lawyer, if some of the largest organisations and most focused on this issue are struggling to meet their obligations? It becomes very challenging for a small business to know they're confidently meeting their duties and obligations. And then where there's big consequences for getting it wrong, they sit there and go, well, hang on, this is pretty tough here. Where do I go with this, and what can we do to make that risk reward more attractive? So I've outlined, some opportunities. In Singapore, their tax system returns some of the tax that would otherwise be payable back to a small business in those early years of its establishment, which is the cash flow valley of death. We all know that. Well, there's a policy setting where something's done about it. In the recent UK election for the self-employed person, and in Australia we have 1.5 million self-employed people, they are incentivised by paying a lesser rate towards the national health system, was the policy idea in the recent UK election. Even the incentives around instant asset write-off. I mean, what a circus that was this year, where the rules were determined 4 days before the end of the financial year. I mean, who can do anything with that? And even the incentives around energy efficiency, looking at photovoltaic and battery systems, even switching from gas to an electrification platform for your business and investing in more energy efficient technology, a really important measure as small business makes its contribution toward net zero. That got passed with a handful of days for anyone to do anything about it, to work out what might be eligible, source the technology, get a price, see if someone can install it and have it up and going in 4 days. Come on, that is just inadequate, and we can do so much better than that. Other areas are around regulation and making sure it's right-sized and able to be navigated and competently implemented by a small business. And even making sure that whenever a cabinet decision is being made or a new policy proposal is being developed or a new regulation is being contemplated, where's the small business impact? Where's that assessment to make sure that we're not overly burdening those small businesses? And Jeff, you as I do probably love a great literature author. We probably love a fantastic scientist. We adore good public administration. Well, all of those fields of endeavour have a Prime Minister's award. Where's the small business one that says, as a nation, we see you, we value you, we recognise the extraordinary contribution that small business people make, and we want to see more people contemplating that course? So there's some of the 14 ideas. More of it's on my website, asbfeo.gov.au. But it's basically, here's action steps you can take right now, supported by data that shows you we probably need to do something right now if we're going to energise enterprise.
Exactly. It sounds like a fairly dire situation. If all other things being equal, everything continues the way it is. You're the officer principally charged with, looking after small businesses in this economy. How much success are you having in putting these 14 ideas in front of regulators? Yeah,
look, we're encouraged by the interest in it, because I think most fair-minded people would know it's a tough time and a challenging economy for small businesses right now. Even Prosper did some research the other day, and in its survey found 1 in 4 small businesses had 0 cash reserves. 0. And another quarter were, a handful of days. Now, for some, it's post-COVID. Things haven't quite landed back where they were. People are emotionally and financially tapped out, and they're seeing challenges, those accommodations where the tax office was very much a support and assist mode, where they're now lodge and pay. Landlords were cutting people some slack, deferring rents, extending terms. So they're saying, no, we need to square this off. Financiers were also looking at variations around levels of indebtedness, time to pay it back. Well, things are now back to a more regular arrangement. And for some businesses, they're not coming out of this COVID window well. And for the research we've done, they're pointing to some really significant challenges and asking themselves, well, what do I do now? In fact, one of the fastest growing areas of inquiries of my office are small businesses saying, look, I've provided goods and services to another business. I'm not sure how they're travelling. What happens if they fall over? Where am I? Am I exposed? Will the contagion of one business's challenge end up impacting on my business viability and longevity? So these are live issues, and people are contemplating how best to navigate them in a space where there's no sloppy margins, there's no easy wins for the vast majority of small businesses.
That was Bruce Bilson, Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at Sound Cartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast.
Sound Cartel.
This episode was brought to you by Forvis Mazars. To find out more, visit forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.